Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our campaign is The Curse of Nineveh. It was written by Mike Mason, Mark Latham, Scott Dorward, and Paul Fricker, and it's available from the Chaosium website. I'm the GM, and this is episode 30. Without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness, guys. Felix is at home recovering after the horrors of something that happened 2 days ago when the phone rings. Ring.
Hello.
Is this Mr. Matthews?
It is.
I'm sorry to bother you at home. This is Miss Leicester from the museum.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello. I was trying to reach Reginald Harcourt and haven't been able to get through. And I tried a couple of other members of the club and couldn't reach them either. And I'm starting to feel as though something's amiss. Do you know? Did he leave for the country or some such, and not leave, information with staff?
I don't know where he's at. Audrey, the last time I saw him, it was during we had something happen. We had something terrible happen. I don't know if anything happened to Reginald. I don't know if he's okay. I don't know if he's hurt. I haven't seen him in over 48 hours.
Would you have seen him? Would you expect him to see him?
I would have expected to see him after what we went through there at that household. We lost Cyrus.
What? The rugged Yank? You mean lost?
Well, I haven't seen him. Fuller is in the hospital trying to recover from everything that he's seen. And
were you in some sort of brawl, or?
It was more than that. I'll wait till we get everybody together and we can go over all the details on it. But I haven't seen Cyrus. I don't know if he made it out. When I went to see Fuller, he was all over the place, and all he kept saying was Cyrus and the cats, and then he would break down in tears and just hysterics.
Cyrus and the cat.
Even Jane was attacked by cats.
Do you mean like at the circus or something?
Well, not big cats. There were small, regular house cats, but there was just so many. It wasn't quality so much as quantity.
Attacked by house cats, you say? And injured? Is Jane
very much injured, to the point where I don't think she'll walk again. I made it out. There's so much. I'm still processing in my mind. But
and you think Mr. Harcourt was also attacked by felines?
I don't know. I really do not know. The last I saw him, he was fine, and he was walking into a bedroom. He was going in to check out a bedroom, and I turned and went through another door, and I never saw him again. I say never saw him again. It's only been 48 hours, but I didn't see him anymore. He never left the house. If he did, it was in a way that was not with me.
And whose house was this?
Lewis. She's the head of the Cat Fanciers Club. As irony may...
Mr. Matthews, this is unkind.
It's no joke, Miss Leicester, I assure you. I can assure you. I wish it were.
I'd like to hear as complete a version of this horror story as you're prepared to share with me.
Oh yeah. I was gonna head to the club a little later on, just to maybe have a little lunch, maybe a drink. Probably a drink. I'm not too proud to say that I've spent the better part of the last 24 in somewhat of a haze. trying to forget everything that I saw.
I see. Well, I can drop by the Wentworth Club in a bit. There's something else I need to discuss with your fellows. So I'll get a car. Thank you for answering, Mr. Matthews.
Okay. Yep. We'll talk to you. About one, late lunch.
That's fine. Yes, one sounds very good.
All right, we'll meet you there.
Very good.
All right. And Audrey, what are you going to do?
I'm going to take whatever paperwork I have on the Horn of Alu with me to the club, because that matter needs looked into. Maybe I'll see if Longton will go as well.
Well, he's just in the other room.
Right. Yeah, assuming we're both at the museum. I don't know what day of the week we're in. But yes, let me go up and knock on Longton's door.
I should also mention that Walter Means has not returned from the sanitarium. He is still psychologically damaged from reading the scroll.
Yes, let's say that overwork in this case is a gentle euphemism for sad loss. All right, and I'll knock on Longton's door.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, Audrey, Patrick.
Oh, come in.
I've just heard the most astonishing news. You know the fellows from the Wentworth.
Yeah.
Who realized that there was a tunnel being made. Well, I've been trying to get Mr. Harcourt to return the Horn of Alu to us so that we could put it in the exhibit, and he's been a little bit evasive. So I've been trying to reach him, and I was unable to. So I called around and eventually got a hold of Mr. Matthews. And Mr. Matthews said that they were in some sort of violent altercation with house cats, which I would think, beyond ridiculous, except he sounded extremely grave. No one's seen Mr. Harcourt. Their friend, Mr. Albright, is hospitalized, and Vadim's friend, Jane, apparently was gravely injured. But he didn't explain what happened, except that he said that it happened at the home of the head of the Cat Fanciers Club. You've known the fellow longer than I have. Maybe you can get a straight story out of him.
Yeah. People seem to be dropping like flies around them.
Yeah, I'm dimly aware of some bit of that. So I'm meeting Mr. Matthews at the Wentworth at 1. Perhaps you could accompany me. Even sign me in and get the full story out of him.
I'm going to have to cancel a couple meetings, but I think we need to get this horn back to the rightful owners, and that's the British Museum. So absolutely.
Yes, we've recovered so much else. It would seem a waste not to get the horn back.
And we put an end to, with their help, but we put an end to those, I don't even know the name of them, those Arabic guys that were tunneling under the
yes, the Brotherhood.
Yeah, that's what they're called. Yeah, I have so much other stuff in my mind. We have to figure this out. Sure. I'll go with you. Yes.
Very good. I'll be in my office. I'll come up at 20 of and we'll get a car.
Sure.
All right. Were you going to say something?
Oh,
because David went like this. I thought he was going to say something.
And that was the ticking of the clock.
All right. So you head towards the Wentworth Club. At the appointed time, and Felix is already there.
And on his third scotch.
And Sykes will show you where he is. Now, Miss Leicester, there are certain restrictions to areas that females are allowed to go, but as long as you're with somebody.
Oh,
Right.
she's my guest for today, so.
Well,
Is it first floor only? I don't remember.
Well, it's the ground floor and the first floor, the library, and of course, what's
Jane's
his name? Used to take them upstairs. Yes.
Right. It's an enlightened organization for the time and place. All right, so we'll find Felix. Mr. Lunkin, you know Mr. Matthews, of course. I could use an early tea, I think.
Can we get around here?
Of course, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
So if you could just tell Mr. Lunkin what you told me, and then we'll continue from there.
Well, Mr. Longden, we were basically attacked by house cats. There was a bit of aggression shown towards Ms. Lewis, which triggered a reaction from a large herd of house cats, and they became terribly aggressive, violent, and we've lost or damaged most of our research team that we had, all of our investigators. Where once we were 5, now there's me.
You are referring to like kittens, not tigers.
Well, correct. I mean, they're house cats. They weren't kittens. They were regular grown house-sized cats. I don't know, maybe cat-sized, full grown.
And were there dozens of the things? Was she some sort of...
It seemed like hundreds almost. And then they started coming, and this is going to sound absolutely nuts, but they were coming out of the walls. They were more than just nobody else is around to hear this, but there was more than just the real cats of this realm. They were almost ethereal cats coming from the walls. There were 2 standing guard at the top of the... I know. It sounds absolutely fantastic, but it's...
Fantastic. It sounds utterly preposterous.
Oh, Munden was here.
Hello.
He's outside the door listening.
Yeah. Well, you might as well come in now.
Hello.
I do understand when put in a significantly high stress situation, one's mind will cope with it in a fashion that it can understand, but so be it.
Have you heard of the Eye of Lamatsu?
Of course.
And do you know
Indeed.
what it does? Does. The power that it holds.
I have Labatsu.
Well, it was once a relic in the temple that had been shipped over and lost. Yeah, I mean, at some point it must have been revered.
It wasn't lost, Mr. Longton. It was stolen and then sold. And at one point was in control by Ms. Lewis, the head of the Cat Fanciers Association there, which is why we were at her house. We went to retrieve the opal.
For the museum? For the exhibition?
We were going to retrieve it and then decide where the correct place was. Now, there's the rightful owner, which would, of course, be the museum. But would the rightful owner actually be the place from where it was stolen originally?
Those people have been dead for 1,000 years. We've discovered it. We acquired it. We shipped it over. It belongs to the museum.
A finders, keepers, losers, weepers mentality. That came to mind yesterday during one of my long benders.
Well, Mr. Matthews, and I'm sorry, your name is Munden, you say?
Yes, quite. It's Lynn Munden. Yes.
I'm Miss Lancaster.
Miss Lancaster, good to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. Mr. Matthews, do you know this fellow?
I know Munden, yes.
Yes, very well.
Yes.
He's from upstairs.
I think what you aren't appreciating, Mr. Matthews, is that we've taken these artifacts that were buried at the dust, forgotten, and lost for millennia, and we brought them out for the public to enjoy, appreciate, and learn from. It's an educational institution. And, you know, the tremendous energy and intelligence and bravery that went into the recovery should be rewarded.
It's not going to be rewarded. It's going to be punished. Because it wasn't lost. They knew exactly where it was. The people who needed to know where it was, they knew exactly where it was. It wasn't lost. It was being guarded. It was being protected. The world was being protected from the power these things hold. These are not just laundry lists or somebody's chamber pot full of ancient Egyptian piss. This is not a normal relic. These things hold power.
Mr. Longton.
It does sound like you've run afoul of what has to be someone connected with the goddess past. I mean, it's bad enough that you're dealing with the Assyrian pantheon. Now you're going into the Egyptian. Who are you crossing in these matters there, Mr. Matthews?
Look, Munden, and Longden, and Leicester, if needed, you're going to have to accept that these things are bigger than they appear. They're stronger than they appear. There's more to them than what's just on the surface. And if you're unable or unwilling to accept that, then our conversation here is over.
Are you still in possession of the Horn of Alu?
I am not.
Yes, I've been meaning to ask you about that. What is the I heard that there was some kind of contention with that being in Mr. Gamatov's care.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Gamatov's estate or his care or whatever. I know he died because he thought he had it. He was killed, lost his life.
The quaint little Russian was murdered as well.
Over the horn.
Yes.
He didn't even have it. He was only thought to have it.
All the more reason for these things not to be in private care, but in a respected institution with guards and thick walls and a newly filled tunnel under the basement.
But if you cannot, you can't put these things together. They can't be together.
Why not? They sound like they'd be perfectly fine together.
They all were together for thousands of years, were they not?
Yes, quite. Bring them back together like they should be.
You know, as much as I'd love to let you all just go and put these things together and reap the benefit of doing so, I owe the world, apparently, a more responsible action. And I'm going to tell you, if you put these things together and you finish that display you're working on, you're going to open a gate. And through that gate is going to come straight from the bowels of hell some kind of horrible world-ending shit that I have no idea I have no idea what's going to come through it, but it's not going to be something nice. It's not going to be bearing gifts. And it's not going to come around and say, thank you for bringing all my shit back together at a freaking museum.
Patrick,
That is not going to happen.
Yes.
how long have you known Mr. Matthews?
Few months.
Has he always been notably eccentric?
Not at all. I believe he's been through a lot these last few months. But I do have to say, Felix, on behalf of the museum and all of its staff, we owe you a debt of gratitude for alerting the police. And I reach up and shake your hand to the infiltration that happened the other night. I know the newspapers quoted it as the security guard, but people talk, and we know that it was your group that did stop those heathens from breaking into the museum.
I suspect it would have been you there, Mr. Matthews, behind, and you and the others behind all of that, not the head of security, like they said. That was rather rude of them not to credit you all for that discovery.
We didn't do it for the glory.
Well, we owe you a debt of gratitude, and with that, I will help you try to recover the other pieces.
Well, so preposterous as this all sounds, you obviously need some assistance, and, well, I'm done with my recent dissertation here, so if you could use myself and my my services, I would greatly enjoy to help out. Preposterous as it is.
Leicester.
Well, there's been, I've never heard such a preposterous series of assertions in my life.
Miss Leicester, I broke into your house.
Excuse me? You did what?
Cyrus and I broke into your house.
You did what?
You and the big Yank were in my flat.
We were.
Under what circumstances?
Because we thought you had the opal.
So you're both mad and lawless.
I could see that Yankee buffoon doing such a thing, but you.
I'm trying to be open and honest here.
I thank you.
If we are going to cast judgment, let me be the one to cast thy stone, I believe is how it's written. I don't know. I didn't spend a whole lot of time in that book. Long story short, Ms. Leicester, we broke into your apartment. We searched to make sure that you weren't working with the Children of Tranquility, who is the group that we think killed our Russian friend Vadim. We weren't doing it in a malicious way. We just wanted to make sure that you were, number one, you weren't mixed up in it, and that you were okay for Reginald. That may have been a bit of a stretch. We told Reginald that afterwards. He was appalled at the whole thing. But I wanted you to know, and I'm trying to be open and honest with Ms. Leicester. I don't need a cheering section, and I'm sure she doesn't need a support group.
Well, I'm glad to hear that Reginald was not a part of this nonsense.
He didn't.
When did this insult to my personal dignity occur?
To be fair, we didn't look in any of your drawers.
You searched the apartment, you said.
We're simply professionals. We just scanned, and then we moved on. We may, and by we, I mean Cyrus, may have stolen a book. I don't remember what was in it. There's been a lot of stuff happening between then and now, but I just want you to know. Now you're up to speed.
Well.
Also, we stole a necklace, and I'm sorry.
Is there anything you did not steal from
Munden?
Miss Leicester?
I surely didn't steal her cheering section, apparently, because here he sits right here at the table.
I see.
No, you don't.
Well,
Miss Leicester, I can't give you your necklace
That's why
back.
the book was in the mail. I thought I'd lent that book to someone, and they'd been careless when they sent it back to me. I was confused, but I certainly didn't think that my home had been violated by strangers.
When you say violated, it sounds terrible. We didn't do anything in it. We just looked around. It was kind of like being invited in. And
The
if it makes you feel any better,
implications.
if it makes you feel any better, I asked you if you have any problem with this, please speak up now. Before I walked through the door, you didn't say a word. I walked in, we closed the door behind us.
So anyone could just walk into my flat when I'm not there?
If they pick your lock.
Oh, I shall have to look for a new lease immediately.
Well, I don't think you need a new lease. You just need to look for a better locksmith. Not the point. Not the point. You know, I don't want to get wrapped around the proverbial axle on this. I want you guys to be a part of this. If you want to move forward and save the world with me, that would be
Save the
great.
world with you. Most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, Audrey, the museum does owe a debt of gratitude to them for stopping the invasion. I will give you a week of my time.
Well, I will say that Mr. Harcourt did have a sort of haunted look about him, as though he'd seen, he made implications that he had seen things that were unusual, but not monstrous swarms of murderous house cats or saving worlds.
Well, they are the children of the goddess Bast, of course. They always are not what they seem.
Now, Felix, do you know where the eye is?
No.
Yes,
know
did you
where
even?
it
If
I
we're
know
putting
it
the
was.
cards on the table, let's be honest with each other.
I don't know where it's at. I know where it was. I know Lewis had it. And we thought that it was still there at her house. And then when all the cats went ape shit and started coming at us and attacking, we really thought that it was there. So, as we do, and as we did, we started searching the house. But it wasn't there. It's not there. And
Perhaps you
apparently
should have broken into her house when she was away, as you did mine, and searched it,
we would
picking
have.
through her drawers,
We would have, except she had.
taking keepsakes. I've never heard anything more vile. Do you know where the Horn of Olu is?
Gentlemen.
Yes, I know where the Horn of Olu is. It's
Where
not
is
in
the
my
Horn of
possession.
Olu, Mr.? Where is it, Mr. Matthews?
It's in a bank vault.
A bank vault. A privately held. So you can get it then and return it to the museum where it belongs. Oh, I forgot. If we put all the magical charms together, they're going to blow up. There's going to be a gate to Armageddon.
I don't like your condescending tone right now, Miss Lycastle.
I find your colorful language most distressing as well.
I find the fact that you've got a bunch of cat shit in your apartment distressing, but nobody's saying anything about that.
My cats, which have never harmed anyone, are very orderly creatures. They go out at night. Perhaps there's an occasional whiff of cat urine. They do mark, but
All feelings and posturing aside, what are the last artifacts that we need? There was some sort of disc, a seal.
The seal from the sarcophagus is still missing, yes.
That would have been in the sarcophagus, more likely with a mummy, which was also missing.
Not every those drinks are really kicking in. Not every artifact is necessary. Not every artifact.
The exhibit will be complete until
there are specifics. There's specific artifacts. There is the Horn of Naboo. There's the Eye of Lamatsu. There is the statue. The statue is now in possession, or was in possession, of the Children of Tranquility.
But we have thankfully recovered it. And again, thank you for your assistance.
Maybe that'll balance out the scales of injustice towards you. Maybe it won't. Either way. Then there were tablets. They're the tablets of walking darkness, blood and light. Or excuse me, yeah, blood and light. Those tablets were also returned to the Children of Tranquility.
I was working on those before they were stolen.
And finally, there's the seal. So there's 5 items: the horn, the eye, the statue, the tablets, and the seal.
So the eye and the seal are still missing.
Correct. The eye is missing. The seal is missing. The horn, you said, is obviously back, and then the scrolls. I think I called them tablets, but it's the scrolls.
The ones poor Mr. Weems was working on.
Correct.
So then, if you are...
And a scroll. There's a scroll. I forgot about the scroll.
Tablet, scrolls and tablets. So if the scrolls are still missing, then you don't have to worry about all of your magical gewgaws getting together. And you can allow our museum, its rightful owner, to recover the horn and render us assistance in retrieving the eye. You think that Miss Lewis of the Cat Fanciers Society had the eye, but she what?
It was
One of the cats ate it?
No. You see, now I think you're just patronizing. And I'm going to tell you, if Reginald didn't think so highly of you, I would bid you good day. But I'm not going to do that because I'm a better man than that.
Why don't we just call the yard and have them descend on the house and recover the item? It is the king's property. So.
Because the item's not there anymore, Mr. Longton.
But if she
it's not there.
Right,
and,
but if she knows about it,
I don't even know if she's still alive. I don't even know if she's still alive. All right, there, it's out. I'm not sure if she's alive. Cyrus shot her.
Ghastly.
You know, I don't know if you guys are ready for this. I don't know if you're ready. I don't know if you guys are ready for the kind of stuff that we're going to embark on. I really don't. I don't think so. So you better ask yourself long and hard if you're ready to die for this.
Mr. Matthews, to take another tack, what efforts have you made to determine the fates of Mr. Harcourt and Mr. Finley?
Take it you haven't spoken with the authorities yet, given what you've been discussing.
What am I going to say? My friends were all eaten by cats?
Good
You expect me to believe it?
I don't know where Reginald's at. I have no clue. I don't know if he was eaten by cats or if he's still in that house. He may still be in that house upstairs. I'm not going back to that house. If you want to go, feel free. There's nothing stopping you except 5,000 ghost cats and a big pile of shit that used to be Cyrus that's now just a chewed up, gnawed on bone pile with flesh dangling off of it. And there's probably some old bitch running up the stairs with a bullet hole in her. So if you guys want to go in all that stuff, then feel free. But just know that's the kind of thing that you're getting into when you sign on with the Felix Matthews Fun Train to Psycho Town, because apparently that's where this one stops. All aboard. Woo! Woo!
I have...
As insane as this all sounds, it's actually making some sort of sense.
I have
nothing else. We perhaps have a legitimate case of spiritual activity here. You have my interests.
Well,
we got his interest.
Mr. Matthews, please, there is a lady present. Please use some decorum. And 2, Audrey, the museum cannot have any more bad press. If we do get the yard involved, it's going to be all over the papers in a matter of a day or 2. They want to pull funding on some of this. I think let's just agree to disagree and go with these gentlemen for a little bit and see if we could dig up some of the truth. Not saying Felix is not stating the truth. He's in a heightened state. His friend has passed away.
Friends with an S.
Friends.
Multiples. Plural.
Forgive
Friends.
I believe the condition is called shell shock.
The
I
condition
think
is called, I'm surrounded by a bunch of weird things happening with a bunch of old things that I really did not care about to begin with. And now here I am, knee deep in a river of shit and not knowing which side to crawl out on. And all I'm asking is if you want to help, then at least believe me and come with me. And if you don't believe me, then there's the door.
And we'd be coming with you to retrieve the Eye of Lamatsu.
That's probably something I need to go do myself because I don't know if you guys are ready for that.
Well, it's not in the house with your...
No, it's not. We'll just stop you right there and tell you no, it's not.
So
Because
where is
I had
it?
a feeling there was something negative coming and you were going to question my cat fancy myself. Because I'll tell you, I fancy no cat at this point.
Sound as mad as poor Louis Wayne.
Audrey, for King and Country, we should at least make an attempt to.
Well, if this gentleman has any information that'll help us recover artifacts, or will agree to hand over to its rightful owners the artifact that he has stashed away in a bank vault like a common thief. Where is the necklace, by the way? Which one was it?
Yeah, you know what? Reginald had it. We gave it to Reginald, and he was going to give it back to you. He was going to give it to you as he was going to give it to you as a gift. He didn't know that we stole it from you. It was we were actually going to get a really big laugh out of it, and let you in on it later.
Mr. Matthews.
In hindsight,
Patrick, I don't know if there's anything this man says that we should believe.
At the end of the day, he is the only link we have to recovering the artifacts we need. They did the museum a big service by stopping the theft. We kind of owe each other.
Reginald did.
Correct.
And Reginald. Should have told him. Shouldn't have just let him on. Oh, what happened? Cut a little close?
I think that your colorful language has already shocked me quite thoroughly, and now your increasingly personal remarks are most unwelcome. Tell me this, Mr. Matthews, if you can. Do you have a theory of the current location of the Eye of Lamatsu?
I do.
Well, provisionally, if you can provide us with intelligence that will help us recover an artifact that belongs to the museum, then provisionally I am prepared to accept your preposterous assertions, but not your language or your personal remarks. Thank you very much.
Well, I do aim to please, but provisionally, if you walk into where I think the eye is, you're not going to walk back out. None of us will. You'll be dead before you ever get to the front door.
More rabid kittens?
No. The underbelly of the entire London crime syndicates.
Oh my.
Yeah, things got real just now.
So what you're saying is that the hoodlums out there are banding together under some kind of supernatural guidance?
Yeah, actually, in a way, that's exactly right, Mr. Munden.
Now
You
this
nailed
has
it.
gotten interesting.
You just nailed it. They're all serving one.
Is that a fact?
And the head of the snake has to be cut off.
And who is this villainous Moriarty?
Pray do tell.
I'm sure you know him. A Mr. Delgado.
Delgado? Criminal mastermind?
Scoff, if you will. Scoff. And
It is a little bit hard to
Chuckle.
believe.
Guffaw, if necessary. Do as you wish.
However, you're saying our own Delgado, Mr. Delgado.
Well, I don't know how many more times you're going to say it. You can say it with a Delgato. You can say it with a Delgado. It's the same son of a fellow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's not going to last, Miss Leicester, and I staunchly apologize. If that is a way to apologize in a staunchly fashion. Staunch.
You could staunch the flow of your blather and tell us why you think that Mr. Delgado, who was a rather wealthy and socially accomplished fellow,
Oh, he
uh, stole an artifact from a crazy cat lady.
Yes, not to mention him being one of the primary worthies of the Wentworth Club.
Of course he is. Because this whole club's based on the occult, and it's what he fancies. It's what he loves. It's his thing. It's his ish, as they will say in a time soon. So,
No, you might be right.
this is why I believe it. They had a dinner party not too long ago, maybe a week. Oh yeah. So maybe a week ago, there was a big dinner party. Cyrus and I, instead of attending, we went to your place, Miss Leicester, and sniffed around, see what we could find.
A second time?
Just the once.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably better if you guys don't help on that one. So we're going back. When we got back to the party, where the party was being held at Delgado's house, beautiful place, walls walled off. We watched as the party started to end, and everybody started breaking up and walking out. And the people who were walking out, they weren't just your upper echelon. They weren't your elite around the city. These were the hardest of the hard criminals from each of the families and syndicates going around London. These weren't your common street thugs or your muggers or whatever doing snatching purses and pocketbooks.
And
These
you have
guys-
some sort of, guide of the who's who of criminal endeavor in London?
that is for another time. If maybe you'd like to venture down that path, it's a conversation for a complete other time.
Oh, gee, let sleeping dogs lie. I think we can surmise the character of this gentleman. No insult intended, sir.
No, that's pretty fucking. That's pretty harsh. But it's all right, because I know what you guys are about to go through. So get your jabs in now, because
I
soon
have
you'll
nothing
either
to jab.
you'll be too crazy or too scared to say anything else.
You say.
Well, I haven't had a good fright in a long time.
Then maybe we should take a trip to Miss Lewis's house.
If you say Mr. Harcourt might still be there.
It's the last place I saw him, and I didn't see him leave. I cannot join you. I can tell you exactly where it's at, and I can tell you exactly what to expect, but I can't go.
I mean, even if 1/10 of what you said is true, I couldn't ask you to return to the place where your friends were murdered. So I wouldn't ask you to go, but I would like to go with Audrey and possibly Munden to at least see if we can glean any information from this fatty old broad.
I am rather concerned, though, in that having another group of people visiting so closely to an incident might not put the situation in a bad light for.
Well, given that the Americans shot this poor woman,
Yes, quite. And if she is,
she's probably in hospital.
well, if she is tied in with some sort of occult dealings with Bast and has some favor with Bast, let's just say, going out on a limb, it might not bode well for us in the long run to try and be direct.
I wonder if she has telephone.
She does.
Oh, good idea. We could try calling her.
Perhaps.
But I'm not going to be fearful of Bast or Naboo or Santa Claus. I mean, come on now. Let's just put our heads together, recover these items, and do what we need to do.
We do live in the 20th century.
Yes, we do. But
I've got something that might help bring you guys on board here.
Oh.
We have a room here at the Wentworth Club. Myself and my former team. We have a room, and I'm willing to break the rule and get Audrey Leicester up there also, because there's things we need to read. We don't need to read them in an open forum down here.
oh, quite.
Well, if you have any documentation of your outrageous claims, I'd be eager to see it.
Yeah. So would you guys like to go to our room?
If you've had quite enough whiskey for the moment.
I agree.
Quite. Yes.
So I'm going to lead you guys up to the room. And when we get there, we will probably push the button that unmutes our microphone.
Okay, you're up there.
So here, this is everything. This is our research. It's here on the table. I've laid it out I've laid it out. That's everything we had. That's all the letters, all the documents, that's everything.
I remember helping Mr. Harcourt out with this cuneiform.
Yeah, so you go over all of the currently amassed information, and concerning the Eye of Lamatsu and the notes taken by Reginald and Jane, it almost seems like she claimed that somebody stole it from her. And her prime suspect and her bitter enemy is Mr. Philip Church, the rival cat fancier.
From what I see here, we should go to Church. Church seems to be the direct subject in this investigation.
Say tread carefully, for if Church is also dealing with cats.
Yes, London. I see you have already. Let me hold my reservation. I'll keep it to myself. We're all highly intelligent individuals hunting down artifacts and relics. Let's just keep the blinders on and just stiff upper lip.
Well, let's also say that you go over all of the other information that they've gotten so far. You see that they were aware of the Children of Tranquility, that their theory was that the children were probably here trying to stop something from happening. They didn't seem to really be involved in the Iranian government. And that you see how their interview with Thompson, you see their interview with the other people, you see Theodore Rayburn Price's involvement in it, that he actually got them started. It doesn't make entirely a lot of sense, but you can start to see why Felix is convinced of it and why the others were convinced of it. And maybe there is something weird going on, considering how Theodore Rayburn Price died.
Yes, the press described his death as accidental. You say he was pinned to what?
Paled on a tree 15 feet in the air with his eyes gouged out.
Dear Lord.
And
That's what actually happened?
Lord Brightman had his arms and legs cut off and a scroll stuffed in his mouth. And
dealing with a barbaric, antiquated form of punishment from the East.
And Mr. Matthews, you say that you suspect that these Children of Tranquility that were apprehended were responsible for Mr. Gamatov's death?
That's what I'm saying. It's all
Beastly.
right there.
Greatly beastly.
Yeah. Beastly.
This is making more and more sense as I'm reading it, oddly enough.
Oddly enough, indeed.
I see some
So,
earmarks that remind me of, well, I can't talk about that. But yes, quite.
if this church
Those
fellow has the eye, why don't we call Scotland Yard and have them go in and retrieve it? It's rightfully the museum's property.
Call him up, Audrey. Call him up, send him over. I'm sure he's just going to go, oh, sorry, here's your Eye of Blamatsu bag. Sorry about that. Didn't realize that it was stolen from a foreign country, brought into a museum, and now I happen to steal it from some lady who runs a shitload of ghost cats that's just killed 3 people. Sure, I'm sure he'll be more than willing to cooperate.
So your plan is instead wait for Bigger the Opera and break into his home? Rifle through his things?
If you'd have had it, it would have been mine by now.
Audrey,
So which one is more effective?
Audrey, as far as informing the authorities, you know that sometimes the way the museum acquires its stuff kind of is a gray area. So
There's that to consider. So, team leader Matthews, what's your ingenious plan?
My plan is I have somewhere that I need to be because what is the time? What's the time looking like? Are we getting towards sunset? We've been in here a long time.
we'll say so. Yeah.
Takes a while to read things.
It does. And there's a mass of information here. So I am going to run and take care of some things that I need to take care of myself. And
Is there a saloon that's running out of custom?
you know, I can see that this is going to be a nice relationship that we build here, Lancaster. It's on sandy soil right now, but I think that that's going to firm up, and you're going to realize that I may be a pretty good idea.
In what sense? My good man, Patrick, did you hear that? I think this gentleman just made overtures toward me.
at the end of the day, I think it's in the best interest of all of us to play nicely together.
Agreed. I'm sure you could use an extra helping hand.
Although I do have to say we are ladies and gentlemen, and I am even a little perturbed with the vulgarity that does come out of Matthew's mouth.
Oh, for the love of God.
But for my sake, I can overlook it. As for Miss Leicester, I cannot speak for her.
Mm.
All right. Well, I tell
Let's
you
just
what,
try and keep it down at a minimum.
you guys and lady can sit here and do your thing and look at this paperwork. I have somewhere to be, so I bid you all adieu. And I'm walking out the door, and I'm going to my car
All right.
that still has blood and shit all in the back seat because somebody wanted to crawl in and mess up my upholstery on my brand new car.
Wouldn't think they would have washed your car on the inside, your servants yesterday.
We were all busy.
Okay. All right. So you get in your car and you drive away. What do the 3 of you want to do? You're sitting there now alone in this room, and he's left the collateral all with you. There's definitely a weird sort of pattern to it, that certain items were targeted specifically. That Walter Meems had said that this seemed to be part of a larger ritual. That the evidence of Punchin's involvement, that perhaps the scrolls were not destroyed on purpose, but rather somehow wrote themselves on his body. You've been seeing those pictures that Meme's working on, and deep down inside subconsciously, you've been asking yourself, how could he have done that to himself? But now it's like, yeah, how could he have done that to himself? I don't think it's physically possible.
Oh yeah, there are some photographs in here that have put me off my supper for a while.
Yeah, you find a couple of photographs amongst this stuff that are not amongst Meme's photographs.
Right.
Some missing information.
Yes, and Patrick, Mr. Munden, as mad as all of this is, you've got all of these different individuals of decent standing, some of whom we've known personally, corroborating each other in these preposterous tales. It's extremely troubling, to say the least. I'm at some point going to want to make that phone call to see if Mrs. Lewis is at home.
All right. When you make that phone call, there is no answer.
All right. I wonder if you phone a hospital and inquire about someone coming in, if you can get that information without being family or something.
She was an older lady, was she not?
She was an older lady, and she was apparently fired on with a pistol.
Inquire as if you're the granddaughter.
And she was in Croydon, so the nearest hospital would be St. Catherine's.
Sure.
And so I call and ask if there's been any admission of a woman with a gunshot, Mrs. Lewis from Croydon.
Mrs. Lewis is there.
And thank heavens. Is she well?
She's not well, but she is out of critical condition.
Oh, I'm so relieved. I'll have to come and visit her. I'm not immediately in the city, but I'll have to come and visit her straight away. And that means we could go and look at her house to see if there's any sign of anything untoward. Although if we think this, Philip Church, if the best information we have is that Philip Church has it,
correct,
we might skip that. I just don't know. I mean, if he didn't see anything happen to Reginald, then maybe he's there. Maybe he's lying in the cellar with a broken arm or a leg.
That is true. But if there was a gunshot, obviously there was a gunshot, the woman was attacked. Something happened in that house. If we do go there, we must be extremely cautious. Something went down there. Something happened there.
Yes, it does seem like a dangerous place. But if one of our friends is lying injured,
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we must go with extreme caution.
Well, I would say that the best way to go about it is let those who dig skulls do their skullduggery. Maybe Mr. Matthews could look into that. He seems to be apt at sneaking into places.
And now I look around and I'm like, Mungden, Leicester, you saw he put away at least half a bottle in an hour. If Cyrus and Felix were there and they were drinking the way that we saw him drank today, they could have been in a drunken stupor. Cyrus shot the old lady. A cat was there, a couple cats. They probably slipped, fell, broke his neck. I mean,
he could have fired his handgun and been hit by the ricochet, and then cats went to the dead body.
Well, I don't think liquor is involved. I know Mr. Finley there, and he is a impulsive Yank, and quite probably something triggered him. He decided to use his American bravado to, shall we say, take charge of the situation, and it got away from him.
Something got away.
So, Audrey, should we clear our schedules and give them a week of our time, maybe?
Well, certainly. All the work that I have at the museum would be secondary to recovering both the Eye of Lamatsu and the Horn of Naboo.
I agree.
Finding this eye might be the best beginnings here. Maybe even
Well,
keep an eye out for this seal that you talk about. I'm unfamiliar with
Yes,
that.
the seal.
Clay disc with, I believe, a blue insignia, I believe it was.
Yeah, it's a cyan, I think. But the only thing we have, I mean, we have Mr. Matthews knows where the horn is, and we'll have to work on him. And the only other direction we have to go is, yes, to retrieve the eye. But let's first, if you may, see about this poor Mrs. Lewis and whether her house is intact, and how many cats appear to be in it. Although I can't be out late, I have my own 2 cats to feed before they go out for the night.
I would exercise caution, because if there is some kind of involvement that is supernatural with the goddess Basque, we do not want to cross him. Obviously, Mr. Matthews and his company have already done a good job of that.
Something that I just thought of. Maybe they were making an unannounced visit to her home to get the eye, and things went south, as they say.
Well, especially with Mr. Finley there going with his American attitude.
I mean,
He did seem a little piratical.
Yes, that's basically.
And we don't know whether he's well or not. They could both be in the house.
Quite.
So
It also sounds like there might be some sort of police involvement if the fact that Miss Lewis has been taken to hospital.
yes, the authorities must be involved.
See what the authorities have to say.
Do you have any friends at the constabulary?
I think we need to draw as much attention away from the police and the museum as possible. Although they do not work for the museum, they were kind of conscripted to find these items, and it would draw a direct link. Now imagine tomorrow's headlines: elderly woman shot by agents of British Museum.
Oh, it would be ghastly.
Indeed.
Well, let's just go to Croydon and make a private inquiry.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to go and face this church fellow without hopefully sober Matthews.
Perhaps after breakfast on the morrow.
As he stated, in his mind, he does believe, which could possibly be true, his friends are dead. We do have to give him a grace period. Let him blow off a little steam, throw down some spirits, wake up with a banger of a headache, and...
Lycast, have you seen this photograph here? You're I take it you're at least somewhat competently familiar with cuneiform.
Indeed.
Oh, as
Yes.
am I.
It's rather ghastly when it's saying here.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely not some sort of cheap prank.
Well, no, but I mean, ancient superstition. It's all
Yes.
full of violence, and you know, it doesn't apply to us.
Whoever did carve the work into his body is a master at cuneiform, though.
Indeed.
It's true, and it's so. Well, I can see why poor Mr. Weems had a breakdown looking at these photographs.
Not to mention poor Mr. Punch and having to go through all this.
Oh, I couldn't even imagine.
I do understand why from what Miss Selkirk was saying, that he was taken to the country. Whew.
Miss
But
Selkirk as well.
The photographs
Yes,
clip.
it might be a good thing to look in on her, and Mr. Albright as well. See how they're both faring.
Did Matthews tell us that Miss Selkirk made it to hospital?
Yes, he did.
I think speaking to her would be a capital idea.
Yes, let's bring some flowers for her.
Mm.
All right, so is that
But,
what you want to do? Go to the hospital?
Well, I mean, we're going toward Croydon. That's where the house is, and that's where the nearest hospital is, roughly. So, if it's evening-ish, we might still be able to squeeze in visiting hours before we go by the Lewis place.
Let's
And if
visit the
Miss Selkirk confirms anything that Mr. Matthews says, then I will feel differently. Presumably, she's going to say that he's out of his mind.
All right, so you're going there to see Jane.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's jump to Felix. Felix, you are currently outside the Delgado estate, observing carefully the pattern of security guards moving about. It takes you about an hour before you've pretty much memorized their pattern of movement. They don't seem to be changing it. They're amateurs, in your opinion.
I'll make note of their patterns and how many there are. How many are there?
There's 3 on the outside that you can see. You don't know how many are on the inside.
I make note in my handy English notebook.
You also note that they do not have dogs.
Are there cats?
You don't see any cats.
Good. I'm almost more afraid of cats at this point. What about lights on inside?
There are lights on inside.
Fully
It's
lit?
quite brightly lit. And the gardens are kind of brightly lit as well.
Electric?
Yes.
Got it.
And you can see that he might have one guest. You can see where his carport is and his big limo is there, but there's also another car there. One that you think that you've seen before, like at the party, but you don't know who it belonged to.
Does it stand out or does it blend with all the rest? Is it
Well, it's the only
standard
other
black
car there, right?
I mean, is it one that would stand out in any facet, or is it just another black car that looks?
It's not an expensive car. I mean, it's an average person could own it. So you don't think it would belong to a big shot gangster or a big shot banker or anybody like that, but it might belong to
Somebody who runs a cat fanciers association.
I don't know. Cat fans, Mrs. Lewis probably had a very nice car because she was rich.
Mm.
No, somebody who's more common.
Mm. Is it Leicester's car?
No, it's not like Hester's car. She doesn't own a car.
It's hard to see all the bright lights.
On her salary. Iselin has a car for sure. A nice car.
Yeah.
Maybe a
I
Marmon.
like that we're smugly laughing at her salary.
But she's got a job she loves, so.
Damn her. Yeah. Surveillance outside of a house is really a quiet time for a lot of reflection.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I would be thinking anyway. But I'm sad because all my people are, all my friends got off by the cats, and I'm worried about Reginald. He's probably
Well, and
somewhere.
And you know that this Delgado had made Reginald quite an offer that kept going up.
Mm-hmm.
He really wants that object. And from what he said, he wants it because he wants to tap into the power and use it for immortality. which just sounded like bonkers.
Right.
But then again, everything nowadays sounds like bonkers.
And the more shit I see, the more shit I believe. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I just saw magical sparkling cats.
Saw cats that were insanely like the ones that Lewis Wayne has been painting, but in real life with light and energy and spark and electrical sparkles. In fact, they look remarkably like the paintings.
I want to go back and I'm going to make a mental note to go back and see him tomorrow. I want to go tomorrow and see him. Bruce Wayne. Or what's his first name?
Lewis.
Lewis.
Oddly enough, her last name is Lewis and his first name is Lewis.
Oh, Lewis Wayne. Let's go see him. Just making a little to-do list in my notebook.
Okay.
Well, now that I've got the pattern, I'm not really seeing anything else that I need to know. I do want to take an average speed ride around and see if I can see where the line is coming in for the power.
Okay. That's not that hard to observe. In fact, most likely, well, I don't know. I really can't say, but I think that most power lines came out the front, before they had the infrastructure to put them way out of the way.
They have gaslight?
Gaslight is 1800s. They would still probably have a lot of the gaslight fixtures in, but if you're rich, you've already switched to electricity.
I can easily see where he's getting fed, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Acetylene had its dangers. You could burn down the house rather easily. All right.
I'm just going to drive back to my place for the night.
Okay. So you drive back to your place for the night. The three of you go to the hospital, and they're still visiting hours. Since you're all associated with with Jane, you wheedle your way up the stairs to her room. Jane is resting comfortably. She has been given pain medication. They had to amputate one of her legs, and the other one is wrapped up pretty badly. So she was obviously maimed viciously by something. And it's impossible almost for you to believe that it was cats.
And she's not conscious?
Well, she seems to be resting comfortably. You don't know if she's awake or asleep. She's definitely got her eyes closed.
Well, I'm going to tiptoe in with flowers and look for an appropriate receptacle and see whether she stirs.
She does.
Miss Selkirk, we've brought you some flowers.
Ford, you can play her part.
Oh, indeed.
Miss Leicester.
That's right. We're not disturbing you, I hope.
When did you come in?
Oh, just a moment ago. This is Mr. Munden, and you know Mr. Longton.
Mr. Munden?
Of course you do.
Yes, Mr. Longden from the museum.
Yes, we just heard you were injured and came to see you and bring you flowers. Is there anything we can do?
Tact. Cats. Piranhas. Cyrus. No. God. Gotta get out. Gotta get out. Get out now.
You're safe now. You got out.
It hurts. Damn it all. What I was going to do, God. Gotta be angry. Gotta be angry.
The cats are going to be angry.
No. Must inform. Danger. Danger.
It's all right now. You're in hospital. You've been cared for.
Don't understand. They're coming after the royal family. No. Danger.
Patrick, will you look
top
in the
priority.
hallway and see if there's a nurse? I think she might
Top
need a
priority.
little
Must
laudanum.
inform.
I've been,
Cats. No.
That's-
Cats.
A
No.
nurse comes walking in. Yes, okay. And she says, let's give her a shot.
I must talk with my handler. No.
Thank you so much, nurse. We didn't mean to upset her. I think she's just, still in shock.
She's in a lot of pain.
Does Jane have claw marks in visible areas?
She seems to have scratched up her legs very badly. It's almost like she was in a car accident or something. It was quite extensive.
Do you know who brought her here?
I don't personally know.
Yes, well, we brought these flowers. Sorry we upset your patient.
That's okay. I'll put them in water.
Very good. We'll come again when she's when she's in less pain. And as we leave, well, gentlemen, however ridiculous Mr. Matthews appears, whatever's disturbed him is obviously also disturbed and gravely injured Miss Selkirk.
Well, she does confirm this cat business.
Yeah,
but I still find it like piranhas. That's insane.
South American
House cats?
fish.
Yes, South American fish. They're rather ravenous. One scent of blood, and they can tear anything to pieces in great numbers. But for a cat to act like this, even a pack of wild cats in the street, I mean, they would never act as such, and they wouldn't even be able to take down a good, healthy person, let alone
a group of
devour
people.
them.
Well, again, I suspect that, as we said, there might have been some previous injury and then confusion.
Maybe there is something to this. Maybe it is something with Bast.
Well, I still want to go.
All I can think of.
I don't know about this Bast business, but I want to go to Miss Lewis's house.
Makes sense.
Yes, I think we should have further investigation.
Yes,
you
right.
know.
Remember,
We should take it carefully.
they were hurt somehow. We need to not. Maybe there's bear traps in the floors or something. But unfortunately, people passed away, and this woman is hurt. I mean, this is out going down the hallway. Is hurt. It's an unfortunate business. It's still not our major concern. We need to get the items and just put this whole business to rest.
The whereabouts of Mr. Harcourt are rather important as well as the artifacts, and he might be able to get us the horn.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
He's certainly a more reasonable man than Felix Matthews is.
Bear traps. I mean, there could be bear traps on the floor.
Yeah, who knows? So let's see if we can, let's go to her home and see if we can gain admittance. She might have staff that can let us in and tell us something, or who knows?
All right. So it's now probably going on 6 or so in the evening. Are you going to go the rest of the way to Croydon? And
well, I mean, again, Reginald could have fallen down the cellar steps, be lying there with 2 broken legs.
All right. All right. So you arrive at the address of Mrs. Lewis' house. It's dark. There are no lights on, which kind of tells you immediately that there are no servants there.
Which is odd, because it's a nice neighborhood and it's a nice house.
And You do notice a preponderance of cats.
Oh, sweet pussums.
There's cats on the wall. There's cats in the yard. You're starting to realize Miss Lewis was a cat person. I mean, more the pathetic kind of cat person.
Still, unless she was breeding them to be feral.
No, I doubt so.
Well, let's knock on the door. I mean, I'm not a trespasser like Matthews and Finley.
No.
Do a spot hidden.
That's, I don't know my spot hidden. Oh, that's a normal success, 38.
All right. You walk. You go through the gate. Walk down the path. You go up the stairs. You step to the front door to knock, and you get the uncanny feeling that you were being watched. And you look down and you see there's a cat watching you. But then you realize there are dozens of cats watching you. And it's weird.
The one nearest, I'm going to bend and stoop and let her smell my hand.
Well, as soon as you do that, she sort of stands up and starts wiggling around you the way cats will do.
I'll give her a nice scritch. But there are too many, aren't there?
There are a lot. And you also notice that when this cat sort of accepts you, a lot of the cats that were staring at you go back to their indifferent
Wander
business.
Audrey,
friendly little thing.
Why don't you stay on the porch? I'm gonna go traipsing around the side of the house and see if that poor fellow might have broken his legs or something. You don't need to get your shoes all dirty in the grass.
Yes, that's a clever idea. Did you bring? Is there a torch in the car or something?
Oh yes, I have one in hand. I'll go get it.
Well, and there are also street lights, so.
But hard to see into a cellar.
Right?
Yeah, you can't see into a cellar, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Mr. Munden goes to get
The torch.
torch.
And he steps on a cat, and then all.
No, I'm
Careful.
treating the cats with great respect and even bow to them on occasion.
All right, so Patrick, you have the torch, and you're going to go around the side. Munden, what are you going to do?
I'm joining Mr. Longden on.
Okay, so Longden and Munden are walking around the side of the house, and you guys have you guys do a spot hidden roll.
93 out of 50.
Not seeing anything myself.
Okay, 93. So Patrick, as you're walking along, you step in cat shit.
That doesn't.
Yeah, and you're just like, ah, shit. And you do realize there's a preponderance of cat shit. That's the second time I've used preponderance tonight. You notice there's a lot of cat shit around. So there's a lot of cats.
I'm just going to take a casual look at the cat shit.
It's cat shit.
Quite a bit.
It does not contain Cyrus's signet ring.
Yeah.
The garden was at one time a fairly nice garden, very, well kept and manicured, and it's kind of fallen into some disrepair because the cats are tearing it up. They're not actively tearing it up. It's just that all those cats, they're using the trees to scratch their things, and the gardens are kind of dug up a little, and do another spot hidden as you come around you're coming up to the cellar doors.
27 out of 50. Just shy of a hard.
All right. You get to the cellar doors, and you can see that they're locked. They're chained on the inside. What do you do?
It's chained. I'm not going to break and enter a house.
Hmm. Interesting that it'd be chained from the inside as opposed to outside.
It's not that unusual.
Hmm. Perhaps.
I'll be frank. I think they got liquored up, accosted an old lady, and somehow suffered the consequences. Frankly, I'm done here.
I don't know about the liquor debt, but the costing I do agree with.
Dude,
Too much
I-
evidence.
every time I met Cyrus, the few times I smelled him before he came around the corner. Let's be real.
Yes, yeah, very true, very true. It probably led to his overall demeanor. Mm. Perhaps that is why they still have that temperance stuff in America to curb that behavior. They can't
Yes.
hold their liquor, as they say.
Glad we have none of that here.
Yes, quite. Temperance or the lack of liquor.
Right. So do you just go back the way you came, or do you continue around the rest of the house?
I do a full circle and then come back around, plan on coming around the front.
Okay.
I follow along.
As
keeping an eye
you-
on things.
As you go around the back side of the house, and you're now trying to avoid cat shit, something catches your eye. One of the rose garden, there's little her gardens are like little patches with grass in between for walkways. One of them looks like it's dug up recently because there's nothing growing there. It's just dirt.
Like big or like a little?
Well, like maybe 4 feet wide and 7 or 8 feet long, rectangle. But it's noticeably different because there's plants in all the other ones, flowers and roses and things, but this one is completely dug up. In fact, you think that you can see some plants and things that were pulled out of the ground and thrown to one side.
This is
That
very
one's
odd.
What's your take on this, good chap?
It looks like it's been dug up recently. For what? I'm getting a little. This reminds me of that time when I can't talk about that.
I'll push some of the soil around with my foot.
So you're going to go over to the garden. No, it looks like it was recently dug up. Maybe not yesterday, but a few days ago.
I'm going to look around the whole area.
Okay.
And
As you're starting to look around, Audrey comes around the front of the house and starts heading towards where you are. You see them looking at something out in the garden. For the most part, the rest of the garden is what you'd expect. I mean, this is the time of year. There's quite a few flowers and things growing. The roses are in bloom, the ones that aren't damaged by the cats. There's cat poop everywhere, but there's very little cat poop on that particular spot, like it was dug up recently.
And I'm walking quickly but carefully around the droppings toward the lads. I think we should leave here. I think we should leave. I think we should leave right away. I think that I think I might need to find a new home for my cats, poor Shu and Sherry.
I think we need to call the authorities here. This mound looks very suspicious.
Oh, that looks like a fresh grave.
There's a police
Good
box down the road.
heavens.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go before it happens again.
We are on
I
a
can't talk about that.
attempted murder site, so let's go.
Let's call the authorities.
Mr. Munden doesn't have to, we don't have to speak to anyone about the museum. Mr. Munden is not affiliated. You know, so there's no bad press.
I'll call the authorities. There's a police box down the road.
Yes.
And that's what I'm doing. I'm going to the police box and give them the gist is that we were searching for a friend and we heard he was in.
Leave our name out of it.
Nope, I don't mention them. Me and some friends were looking for a friend in the vicinity. Said he was going around visiting this address, and we happened to notice something, and there's some suspicious activity here. And I'll be the front man to deal with the police, and I'll keep them out of it.
All right. You're going to do that before you get in your car and drive away?
Oh, I think we want
we'll
to
find a
stick
phone.
around. I think we want to stick around and see what the police find. So, I mean, if it's a nice neighborhood, there's likely a phone
Yes.
box, not a police box, not too far.
Yes.
Okay.
But we can go
We'll stick
across
around.
the street, or maybe on the side, or wherever we have wherever we can keep an eye on things without being too conspicuous.
We're concerned citizens. We saw something odd in the yard, and we're calling it in. And being of
Okay.
higher class, even though disheveled, I'm using my what would be considered in modern terms as white privilege to kind of get the authorities' attention and focus
Use your
on-
posh voice.
Yes, indeed, yes.
Archie, are you okay? You seem a little shaken up when we were coming out of the alley.
I think one of the cats spoke to me.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I smell like cat. I like them. I didn't see its mouth move, but I asked it and it answered. I don't really want to be on this property.
Let's just see what happens when the police arrive.
All right.
Go down over there.
So you find a cat. You find a cat box. You find a police box. And it's full of cat litter. No. Okay, you find a police box. What are you going to tell the police?
Yes, officer. I don't know how to.
Are you going to report a crime?
Yes. I wish to report some potential wrongdoing. I have a missing friend that was in the area, and the long and the short of it was that I was investigating around, and I looked in this yard, in this old garden of this one estate, and I saw something that looked very suspicious, like turned earth in the shape of a grave.
And where is this location?
It's at
Okay.
in
Well,
Croydon.
first of all, I need to get your name.
Oh yes, indeed. Well, it's Iselin Munden.
And the name of your friend.
Yes, his name was Reginald Harcourt.
All right. Are you at the property now?
I am across the street and down it a ways to the police box. Sir.
And you have a reason to suspect that your friend may have met with foul play.
Possibly, yes, sir.
We'll send somebody over there immediately. All right. So before the police arrive, do you want to do anything?
Return back to the other two. And I did hear the thing about the cat, so I'm kind of ignorant on that. So. The police are on their way. They should be here, and it's odd. He said that they were coming rather quickly, in about 10 minutes. They said, which usually it takes about 20 to get even to a good area. find that rather disturbing.
Well, there was a woman shot here,
Yes,
a day and a half ago.
perhaps.
For we believe, yes. And Miss Selkirk's incident.
Yes.
I'm surprised they didn't notice this, but maybe they weren't paying attention to the grounds. I hope that none of the police officers are dog people.
Well, we shall see.
Mr. Munden, I don't want you to think that I'm entirely mad, but I'm pretty sure that one of the cats on the porch spoke to me, told me that Mrs.
Really?
Smith wasn't in the house. Again, I didn't see they don't have the proper physical or parts to, sorry. I'd like a little bit of Mr. Matthews whiskey right now.
This just continues to get more and more interesting. Talking cats and graves and such. Oh.
All right. So my question
Yes.
is does Patrick and Audrey want to be there when the police arrive?
Well, they're going to ask where we're employed, just as a matter of course, aren't they? But as soon as the police arrive, they're going to be onlookers. They're going to be gawkers. So if we take a spin around the block.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
There's also going to be lines of connections that begin to be drawn between how do you know Mr. Reginald Harcourt? How do you, your people were at these locations when these crimes took place. And
Yeah, let's avoid that.
all right. So you leave Munden there. And you
I can tell them that Reginald Harcourt's a fellow member of the Wentworth Club, and he was also involved with the recent happenings at the British Museum, and he and his fellows were somewhat of investigators, and they had made mention of going to Croydon to look into matters surrounding missing artifacts for the museum, and we have not heard from them in a few days.
all right. So we'll say this. You guys take a couple of spins around the block. The police arrive. They question Mr. Munden. They need to get some sort of a warrant to dig up the garden. They're already aware that Mrs. Lewis is in the hospital, that she was apparently attacked by thugs, that she claims were from Sutton, that they claim to be members of the Cat Fanciers Association, but she thinks that they were all from Sutton.
Oh, my.
And that this all might be somehow tied together, that if you're Mr. Harcourt encountered these thugs, they may have buried him in the garden. So they're going to look into it. And they want to get all your contact information so they know where you are, so they can question you.
No problem. I freely give it. I have no reason to to hide anything, unlike Mr. Matthews.
And after a while, the others come and pick you up, and the police begin their investigation into the Lewis case.
Right. So we won't wait around all night, gentlemen, and wait for them to set up lights and whatnot. Whatever they dig up will be in the press tomorrow, I assume.
Well, let us hope that it's not as...
I certainly hope it's not Reggie.
Oh, I hope not. I do hope it's something very mundane.
He was a very sad man, He'd lost his family.
I heard that. Tragic.
All right. So, following these events, where did the three of you go? Felix has gone home to bed to sleep off all of the alcohol.
I'm going to phone a locksmith on the way home. I probably don't have my own phone, and arrange to have my locks changed in the morning.
Okay.
Going back to the club for a stiff drink and perhaps a comfortable chair.
Okay.
I'm gonna go home and sleep.
All right. I mean, tomorrow's a work day anyway. So, so you all go home and you go to sleep. Next morning, Felix, you are hungover. So when you don't usually rise until like 10, because why? Audrey and Patrick, you arrive back at the British Museum, we'll say by 7:30. What are you going to do while you're there? Patrick, you've brought some of the missing photographs.
Probably try and decipher some of the cuneiform.
Okay. When you go to Meme's office, you go to unlock his door, since you have a set of master keys, and the door just sort of opens, and you realize that the lock's been busted.
I'm going to open it up and investigate.
Okay. You go inside and you find that a number of the other photographs that were there are missing. There were originally, let's say, 14. Now there are only 10.
I'm going to take a look around the room to try and see if I can see if anything else would be missing. I don't know his whole desk organization, but...
Well, you know that Memes was pretty careful. You start going through his stuff. Audrey, you come into the office and you see Longden in Memes' office, and he looks very concerned about something.
Patrick, still trying to get over last night.
Well, this morning will start off with a bang, too. This door has been busted open last night, and a number of photographs are missing.
Well, we need to think about the security regimen in this place. So wait, oh, poor Mr. Wims will be so upset. He's so meticulous. Right, and he was arranging them in a sequence. Yeah, can you tell me which ones you think are missing?
I point out what I believe to be missing.
Right, like 8, 9, 10, and 11 are missing.
Right. Now, where was Memes?
Memes is in the sanitarium. He's
Convalescing?
convalescing, yeah.
He
Gibbering
was,
to himself.
Refresh my memory. Memes isn't the guy that had stuff scrawled on him. He was the guy that was, right, okay.
He was trying to help you guys decipher it. He became very alarmed when he started reading the scrolls.
And he became obsessed almost with it.
Correct.
Audrey, we should put a call into hospital and see if our little friend didn't make an escape and come back for his work. Because he was, remember, we had to send him home quite a few times. He was sleeping and eating here.
Yes, we should, well, first we should call museum security.
Absolutely,
and tell them that there's been this breach, which I consider really quite an outrage. And yes, we should check on Mr. Punchin and Mr. Memes. But I fear we should also try to figure out what area of the text has been taken, because it looks suspiciously to me as though somebody had a partial collection and they wanted to complete it, and that's why they didn't take everything.
Well, the ones that are missing were the ones that the other group had originally given to him, right? He didn't have access to the ones that I have now. Tom?
Correct.
Okay. So, it could. Who else was looking for these?
I from some of the notes we saw yesterday evening,
Gato.
there was that whole criminal enterprise with that surgeon and their, again, preposterously pulpy invasion of the, that house in Soho.
We need to put all of this, everything involving this case should be locked into a safe at night from now on, with yourself and myself having the combination, and that's all.
Oh, this case, they've infected you already with their paranoia.
I mean, one day on, and we've had the near break-in the other night. We've had the items go missing initially. We've had this break-in tonight. There's other people that are dead from the club.
Yeah. And whoever came here clearly had a very specific intent. Why did you even come in?
Force of habit. I figured we'd meet up and discuss find out what happened last night with the police.
No, I mean to his office. Because you have new photographs, of course.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to get to work translating these, the ones that were stolen, to see if there's something in them.
Just as you say that, Ralph Yates, the security manager, he comes up to the door outside. He knocks as he sticks his head inside, and he says, Miss Leicester, Miss Longden, I just thought that you would probably like to know. I've just learned that Mr. Punchin has passed away.
Good heavens.
Actually, there seems to be some confusion about that. They weren't really clear as to how he passed away. Some nonsense about the body disappearing, or they don't have the body. But they're sure that he passed away early this morning.
So he died and then his body went missing?
That's what it seems like, but there's obviously some confusion.
I will call the hospital and see what. Thank you. And also, this room was broken into last night. Look at the lock.
And he looks at it. He says, "My word." He says, "This is unacceptable. Let me get on that right away."
Thank you.
And I think that's where we should end it tonight. All right. Our players included David Gasaway, John Byram, Ford Fitch, Jason Melnichuk, and Jerry's not here tonight, but he'll be here next week. And myself as the keeper of the secrets. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows, free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to support our show, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.